Michigan adds a member to its 2022 recruiting class that continues to inch up in the national rankings. Three-star safety Damani Dent chooses the maize and blue over Oregon, as well as some other schools. He's out of Jacksonville. EJ will kind of break this one down, how it happened. We'll start with that. We'll talk about him as a player a little bit, and then the big picture when it comes to defensive back recruiting. But how did this happen? I guess we can start there. Just give us a rundown. I guess a little bit of how this came to be.
Yeah, so Damani Dent, again, three-star safety out of the Jacksonville area. So he's actually a guy that started off as a two-star recruit, didn't have any Power 5 offers, committed to Akron in the offseason. He went out to Oregon and he dominated at their one of their summer camps. Oregon offered, Michigan and some other schools kind of caught wind, reevaluated him, also offered. So it was kind of crazy. It was one of those guys that was just a late riser. I actually had a chance to see Dent, and we'll talk a little bit more about him as a player in the offseason. And he's a guy that I put on one of my all 7-on-7 tournament teams from the event that I covered. He popped out that much. So I can see why, there were a flurry of offers. But, Oregon, it was kind of similar to last year. Damon David was a low-rated two-star recruit who rose all the way up to a four-star recruit. Oregon beat Michigan head-to-head in that one. Now Michigan beats Oregon head-to-head in this Damani Dent recruitment. But Oregon, I think, was considered the favorite coming out of the summer since they were the first major school to really jump on him. However, Michigan got him on campus for that game against Washington, where he's pictured here in this video, and just really blew him away. He loved the strength and conditioning program, the atmosphere, the coaches. George Hilo did a tremendous job here. Remember, Hilo is a guy that's very well connected in Jacksonville, so I think those relationships paid off. Ron Bellamy, Michigan's new safeties coach, new director of player personnel, Courtney Morgan, were heavily involved as well. And, some SEC schools showed some interest late, like Georgia, Tennessee, Florida. They didn't offer, though, and I think Michigan made a strong run and prioritized him and made him the number one guy on the safety board, and that's a big reason why he committed.
So Michigan makes him a priority, is able to seal the deal with him. What are the Wolverines getting? You kind of alluded a little bit. You've seen him live. You put him on one of your all 7-on-7 teams. I guess, why did you do that? What made you, think so highly of him to put him there? And then I guess, what are the Wolverines getting, not only in, caliber of player, but in terms of style?
Well, his weight's kind of been all over the place. It's been anywhere from like 170 to 197. So I don't think, anybody has a true, accurate, verified weight on him. But I would say he's at about 180 right now. I think it's kind of in between those crazy weight differences. But I would say he's about 180 right now, 6'1". He's really long. He has added some good weight since I saw him in the offseason. That was back in February. But he's a long, rangy safety. He's a guy that a source close to the program compared to Rod Moore, who I covered last cycle, in the sense that he can continue to add good weight. He's a guy that's physical. He comes up and he plays the run well in the box. He's still very, very raw from a technical standpoint, but like Rod Moore, who wasn't too highly rated either, he's a guy that can surprise and maybe get on the field early. So I think Dent has the athletic attributes you want. He has the length, he has the speed, he has the physicality. He's just really raw, again, from a technical standpoint, and a guy that's going to need to be coached up. But, one of the things that was mentioned with Dent, again, when talking to those in Ann Arbor, was they really like that dog mentality, a guy who's aggressive, who has a chip on his shoulder, who wants to prove people wrong. Michigan recruiting more and more of those types of players. I think Dent kind of fits that mold. So right now he went from a 2-star prospect to a mid 3-star prospect. I could see him being a high 3-star prospect, maybe even a low 4-star prospect by the time the cycle ends. I would grade him as a 5.7, high 3. But I think his upside is extremely high, while the floor is pretty low. I do think that upside is something that should excite Michigan fans.
Definitely. And knowing Michigan fans as well, the mentality, you talk about the dog type of mentality that Steve Klinkscale and Ron Bellamy seem to like quite a bit. excites the fan base as well. Defensive back recruiting going forward. You have at corner Will Johnson. You're obviously still going after Damani Jackson, the 5-star USC commit. Cody Jones is there, and they really like Cody Jones. He's having a nice senior season as well. And some others that Michigan continues to pursue. Who are some names to know, and how many spots are available?
Yeah, so Michigan still wants to add, maybe one or potentially two more guys in the secondary this cycle. It just really depends on how the board shakes out. So, like you mentioned, you have two corners right now: Will Johnson, Miles Pollard. You have a nickel guy in Cody Jones. Now you have a safety in Damani Dent. So that's four takes in the secondary. Obviously, Damani Jackson's going to be a take no matter what. He is a priority guy that can do a lot of things in the secondary, play that Dax Hill role. He can be a true corner, a true safety. I mean, Damani Jackson is an elite level athlete. But outside of him, there's still some intriguing names. Michigan is still making Zeke Berry a priority, a former Arizona commit who seems to be very high on Oregon and Michigan. So it'll be interesting to see how that battle shakes out. Austin Osbury, a Rivals 100 safety out of Louisiana. Ron Bellamy just saw him on the road during the bye week. TJ Hall, who is committed to Washington, a little lower on the board, but still another intriguing guy that Michigan likes and has talked about bringing in for a visit. So there are some guys, not named Damani Jackson that Michigan's after and looking at. There's still Andre Stewart, who's a teammate of top target Joshua Josephs. Currently committed to Kentucky, that Steve Klingscale recruited during his time with the Wildcats. So, there is a potential for six guys in the secondary class. It just depends on how it shakes out. And obviously, keeping Cody Jones, who has continued to make other visits, is a big priority. I think adding Dent kind of helped out with safety recruiting, getting a guy on board that they really like in terms of upside. But that's kind of a rundown with what's left in the secondary.
Definitely. So keep it locked at thewolverine.com for full coverage of this commitment and going forward when it comes to Michigan football recruiting and all of your Michigan Wolverines needs. And we will see everybody over there.